Every so often, we stop recording on Monday night, and then some big news happens within an hour. Such was the case Monday. Tetsuya Naito out of the G1, and due to a significant knee injury, and if it's an injury, it's going to be pretty damn significant to remove him from the G1. And this creates a whole ripple effect for the G1, where it is intricately booked. All of the wins and losses are designed to get you to your destination. And with a guy like Naito out with 8 matches to go, pure chaos, pardon the pun. But now what will be done is that all of his opponents will get forfeit wins, but they're all going to be working the shows against replacements in non-tournament matches. That will begin with Thursday's show, where Yuji Nagata will step in to take on Tangaloa, and then Naito was supposed to take on Shingo Takagi on Sunday's show, so Nagata will take on Shingo. But it's just a total curveball that you get thrown, but I can't even really call it a curveball this year, Wade, because you have to go in knowing that even the best laid plans, you're doing this in a pandemic. It's just for injuries, that's another obstacle that they have to overcome.
For as long as I've been watching the G1, like, they've avoided this. They've avoided like somebody being so injured to the point where they're not able to compete, much less drop out of the entire tournament. And it had to have happen, you know, in a year where everything has already gone wrong anyway. So in some aspects, it's only appropriate that this would unfortunately happen for this. Hopefully Naito will be back in time for Wrestle Kingdom at this point. I mean, it's what is it, MCL?
Yeah, I believe so.
You know, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what recovery times for those are, but it sounds, you know, kind of serious. So we hope for.
I would say, Wei, if he's out of the G1, I would say I'd take it as a significant injury, because I would say if there was any chance he would gut his way through this, mm-hmm. like that, it tells me this has to be pretty damn significant to be removing yourself.
Yeah, and you know, it's Tetsuya Naito who was going to account for several of the bigger matchups throughout the tournament. Now, you know, you mentioned the replacements. Are they going to change up the replacements for every show?
It's going to differ throughout. It's not like Nagata's just taking all the empty spots. It's going to shift. Like Yujiro is going to take on Bushi because that's what these shows need, is Yujiro versus Bushi. But right. I guess like your other option would have been selecting someone to just insert for Naito. And I look at it and like Minoru Suzuki would have been a great alternative to have. But there's, in some ways, it's, you say, well, how could you predict this? This year with COVID and such, I would very much be looking at this as something where I would want to have some alternates ready to go, because there is no guarantee that they're not going to have more issues over this next month with just where the state of the world is.
Yeah. Well, I think for all of our sakes, you know, I'm really glad Minoru Suzuki made alternate plans this year, because
imagine Yujiro showing up at Arthur Ashe Stadium for the lights out match.
Yeah.
Instead,
Yujiro versus Nick Gage would be very interesting. Sure.
Oh man,
have Yujiro fill in for Suzuki's U.S. schedule.
Yeah, Nick Gage taking the pimp juice.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested to see what other replacements they have. I mean, you know, it's probably going to be just, you know, various people from the New Japan stable, whatever dads they have remaining, that might take those spots. But it offers at least some fresh, unpredictable variety to an otherwise, I would say, largely predictable, at least roster-wise, G1.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to change things up, and this is where this is a G1 that we knew going in. Like, there was the chance of stuff like this happening, and it could cause, like, an unpredictable winner at the end if there's somehow where they lose out on names. Hopefully, this is not something that they're going to have to encounter again, because I can just imagine the scrambling to put this together. Like, this is a very complicated tournament when you're talking about things out of your control, where someone drops out and you have to account for all those wins and losses. And it's also not just the wins Naito was supposed to have, but the losses he was supposed to have and how you make those up. It is like, I would be, my grade 12 self would have just been frightened at the prospects of this math to figure out.
You know, of course, the biggest casualty in all of this is the post-wrestling G1 contest. And
I love it.
Chris Angler wanted us to alert everybody that we will continue as planned, and all of Naito's matches are going to be recognized as losses, as forfeits.
You have to. This is part of the fun.
So goodbye anybody's chances of getting a perfect score, even up until I think week 2 into this thing. But nonetheless, it is a pretty even playing field still.
Maybe Vivian Murray thought that Naito was just going to get swept throughout the whole thing.
Hey,
he was going to go.
I think Rando Bot's chances are pretty good this year.
I'm going with Rando Bot. I think this year they could pull it out. So Thursday's show is at they're doing back-to-back nights at Oda Ward City Gymnasium, and it will feature a non-tournament match between Yuji Nagata and Tangaloa, and then your A block matches are Great Khan versus Toru Yano. Way's setting his alarm for that one. Kenta versus Yujiro. It gets better. Kota Ibushi versus Tomohiro Ishii, which should be outstanding. And then Shingo Takagi and Zack Sabre Jr. So this is kind of the tale of the A block, is that usually you're going to get probably 2 great matches, and then it's anyone's guess what the rest provides.
Going into this G1, I think most people feel sort of the drag of it all. The roster is not looking that great, but the first 2 shows that have occurred have contained 2 match of the year candidates. Yep. And I would say day 3 looks to be just as strong in terms of possibility here with Ishii versus Kota Ibushi, and even Shingo versus Zack is a match that I think could do really well. So,
Zack was awesome in that match with Naito, and that match got overshadowed. The match that Naito, we assume he got injured in, that was a fantastic match. It was just overshadowed by 2 incredible main events. What a week this has been for contenders. Totally. And then Friday's show has Okada versus Evil, Sonata Taichi, Jeff Cobb versus Yoshihashi, Chase Owens against Tama Tonga, and Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Hiroki Goto. And obviously the B block shows unaffected by this Naito news. So that is what we're going to be chatting about the next couple of days.